Emotional intelligence begins in your nervous system and is also shaped by your psychology and reflected in your level of consciousness. This means that emotional intelligence goes far beyond the way that you can communicate and stay calm, but understanding the relationship between your body, mind, and spirit. Every emotion that we experience carries information that is also separate from our identity. So for today's Tyy Tuesday, we will be speaking about emotional intelligence on a physiological, psychological, and spiritual level so that you can better understand yourself, strengthen your relationships, and have greater awareness. So if this is something that you're interested in, let's get right into it. Hi lovelies, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. My name is Tyla. Thank you so much for joining for today's Tyy Tuesday. I thought that emotional intelligence would be a very important topic today. It is something that is often overlooked and a lot of times is more valuable than an IQ. Your EQ means so much and it matters. It affects a lot more in your life than you think. So let's get right into it. So for starters, let's talk about the physiology of emotion. So one of the biggest misconceptions is that our thoughts control our emotions, but a lot of times our bodies react before our mind even has a chance to catch up. When your brain perceives danger, whether that's physical or emotional, it automatically activates your sympathetic nervous system, which is also your fight or flight mode. Your heart rate then increases and cortisol and adrenaline are released. This causes your breathing to become shallow and your blood is redirected to your muscles. At the same time this is happening, your prefrontal cortex decreases, and that's the part of the brain that's responsible for empathy, impulse control, reactivity, and logical thinking. That's why sometimes when you're emotionally activated, you may act out of impulse, do certain things, or say certain things that you don't mean. Now, this isn't necessarily a sign that you're too irrational or emotional. It is just your body believing that it's protecting you. And the interesting part is that your body can't always decipher between a physical threat and an emotional one. So something that gets you emotionally activated may feel the same as a physical threat. This is why the key to enhancing your emotional intelligence is through nervous system regulation. And something that I really want to clarify is that suppression does not equal regulation. So holding things down, bottling it up, and suppressing it down inside is not the same as actually regulating these emotions. Suppression looks like not feeling it and not acknowledging it, while regulation looks like feeling it but in a safer way. So when we talk about healing and raising our EQ, that just looks like holding more of an emotional capacity to feel and experience things. So when we look at raising our EQ, it looks like raising our capacity to feel our emotions without allowing them to control us. So now let's get into the psychology of emotion. Once your body experiences an emotion, your mind tries to create and attach a meaning to that emotion. Psychology teaches that our emotions are not just shaped by what happens to us, but even our childhood experiences, our trauma, our beliefs, and other things that affect how we were raised and the things that we believe. This means that two people can experience the same exact thing and have two completely different ways of responding due to their own internal narratives. So this may look like one person receiving criticism, constructive criticism, as I'm not good enough, whereas another person may perceive it as, great, this is new information and this is an opportunity for me to be able to grow. So with this situation, the event is the same, but the meaning that's attached to it is completely different. So when we talk about being emotionally intelligent, that means to become an investigator rather than a reactor. So some questions that you can ask is, why did this trigger me? When have I felt this before? Is this emotion about what's happening now, or is it connected to something much older? And what need underneath this emotion isn't being met? These questions will help you shift from reacting on autopilot to responding with awareness. Another really powerful practice is expanding your emotional vocabulary. So sometimes it may not always be as simple as I feel stressed. Sometimes it may be an emotion underneath that. Maybe you feel angry, maybe you feel frustrated, tired, upset, any other emotion, but expanding your emotional vocabulary can help you to get to the deeper root of what it is that you're experiencing and what it is that you're feeling. Now let's go into the spiritual perspective. So spiritually, I like to think of emotions as energy in motion. So I look at it as something to not fear and avoid, but something to kind of lean deeper into, because you can witness and learn different things from what your emotions are trying to tell you and show you. So an important question that you can ask in a moment where you feel a heightened emotion is, what is this emotion trying to teach me? A lot of the times when you stop and reflect on what it is that you're feeling and you try to get to the deeper root, you see where that emotion is actually stemming from. So to give some examples, when you look at fear and that emotion, that may actually be showing you where you may be needing safety. When it comes to feeling an emotion like anger, that may show somewhere where your boundaries have been crossed. When we look at grief, that can look like a reminder of the depths of your love. Jealousy can often reveal a desire that feels neglected. And even with something like guilt, that can redirect us back to our own personal values. One of the biggest lessons in spiritual growth is recognizing that you are not your emotions, but more so an observer of them. And this is also one that I'm currently working on when it comes to my anxiety. A lot of the times I will say I am anxious instead of speaking that I notice that anxiety is present. That tiny shift creates a big gap between you and that emotion. And it's honestly relieving because it reminds you that your emotions are just temporary and not a part of your actual identity. The more that you can understand and understand your inner world, the more that it will be easier to understand other people. And this also helps to create more empathy because you're not necessarily agreeing with other people's actions, but coming from a place of understanding that everybody has their own inner dialogue, their own experiences, their own trauma and their own wounds, as well as their own nervous system. So a big part of emotional intelligence is just becoming more conscious of the things that you're feeling and kind of treating your emotions like waves, just noticing them as they come and as they flow, and trying to remain present and grounded as each one arises. Every emotion carries information, but not every emotion deserves to dictate your actions and your responses. So that is it for today's Tyy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly hope that you enjoyed, that you found this video useful and helpful and insightful. If you did, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys in my next one. Peace out and much love.